Good evening, folks. This one is a bit sad. It's a little bit serious. Some of you will have heard of Trevor Jacob, who was a guy who last November videoed himself abandoning his aeroplane over a mountain range in California. And it's really hit the internet. If you haven't seen anything on it, all you have to do is search Trevor Jacob and you will be inundated with videos about this. And I've been through an awful lot of them, being, as you know, interested in aviation. I've been through quite a lot of them, and there are concerns. I sat down the other day and I made a list of, I'll tell you in a minute exactly how many, 20 points, and there are more. He posted the video on the 24th of December last year. He's had over 1 million views on it. It might be 2 million views. His claim is that he was flying approximately 200 miles to go snowboarding and paragliding. Oh, excuse me. And to scatter the ashes of his friend who died in a what they call wingsuit incident or base jumping incident a few years ago. During the flight, his aircraft suffered an engine failure and he bailed out, which most people who are not aware of the aviation industry and how aviation works and how being a pilot works might think that's actually quite reasonable. It wasn't, and there are lots of things, but very briefly, that he bailed out in record time, like, oh dear, my engine stopped, better get out the aeroplane, in a blind panic, apparently. We'll have a look at a little bit of the blind panic and see what you think. And he remembered his GoPro on its selfie stick. Didn't actually do much else, but he did remember to grab his GoPro with the selfie stick. There were at least 5 GoPros on the aircraft at the time. There were possibly more, and certain views are missing. Look it up to get that bit. I'm not going to deal much with that. I might look at the way he jumped out and the speed with which he jumped out. A part of his descent has certainly raised issues with me, because although I might not be a pilot, I do have a bit of an understanding of some of the physics involved, and there are anomalies there which I have checked with people who are knowledgeable in this area, and they're saying, what? Let's have a little run down the list. This list will be in the description, just in case you can't keep up. Crash opening now removed at, it is believed, the request of the sponsors and possibly the family of the deceased. The opening sequence, which you can get on YouTube, and when I can find it I will put a link in the description. It's actually hosted by someone else now, the whole video, and the opening is, yeah, I just watch it. It's absolutely horrendous. Always wears a parachute, except when he doesn't, which is in every other video of him flying. He doesn't wear a parachute, and yet he says in this video, I always wear a parachute when I'm flying. There's a fuel selector valve that doesn't appear to be connected to the wing tank that's feeding it. Engine stops, he panics, and I do have to question, is this the response of a highly trained and skilled pilot? There's no attempt, well, we don't see any attempts to resolve the problem or restart the engine. He does strange things with the controls. Should he not be getting the nose down to increase airspeed and seek his ideal glide ratio? He exits the aircraft in the video, I think it's between 15 and 20 seconds after the engine stops, which is no time at all. In spite of his panic and fears, he remembers his GoPro, we've mentioned that. While in free fall, he remembers to video his plane as he falls away, so the plane is above him. After free falling for some time, he videos his plane some distance beneath him. We will look at that. That's critical. He's appears to have a fire extinguisher strapped to each leg. There's questions about what's under his jacket. He's got something bulky under his jacket. Another fire extinguisher. Why were there so many GoPros on and in this plane? If he's so safety minded, why wasn't he carrying a handheld radio or sat nav? Because he claims to be very safety minded. This is a plane which doesn't have an electrical system and has no radio. Most people flying in those circumstances would have a handheld airband in case of emergencies, so that they could at least announce, yeah, by the way, I've got no radio or no electrics, or in this case apparently no engine. His paraglider and snowboard weren't seen. I think we saw him loading them in, and we see him using them several days later at the end, but we don't see them in the aircraft, and they weren't in the wreckage. There are claims that he moved the wreckage to an undisclosed location before the FAA could inspect the crash site. Why? That one you might want to delete. It's now being suggested that no, it could well have been the FAA that removed the aircraft. He would have apparently he used a helicopter. That's not necessarily his doing, because it is a specialist job, and the specialist had to have logged all that in contravention of air regs in the area. Why no video from the forward-facing GoPro during or after the engine stoppage? Everyone asked that question. His choice of parachute has been questioned. He was using, proper skydiver's square, highly controllable, super duper high performance parachute. Big, bulky. Every pilot who said, well, yeah, if you've got to wear a parachute, you wouldn't wear that. His wounds appear to have healed rather quickly. We might be able to find an example of that. And was the plane airworthy or not? And there's an inconsistency of accounts. Some say he bought it as a scrapper. Some say, no, actually it was fully equipped and it was fully certified. It's not MOT that they do with aircraft. Goodness knows what they do in the States. It's CAA are responsible over it here. It's a certificate of airworthiness. What it is in the States, I don't know. So, right, without any further ado, let's move on. Right, we'll just look at this. Here we are, he's flying along all happy like. The door's open. And there goes his engine. Why is the door open? He's now pulling back on the stick. Why? Doesn't appear to be any attempt to get the engine restarted. And yeah, okay, he's opening the door, looks down, he's knocking about, having a quick panic. This is the only view we have of him having a quick panic. Lots of swearing. Pushing the door open. Now at this point he's bailing out, so he might well be getting the plane down to its stall speed, which would be fair enough. Now he says there's no place to land. There's a riverbed up there, and on the right hand side there's flat ground behind. It's apparently within easy gliding distance, and he's halfway out, still looking down, still trying to keep the airspeed low, and off he goes. Now the engine hasn't seized, we know that, because in a minute you'll see the propellers spinning in the wind. There we go, looks at his aeroplane, looks back at the aeroplane, turns around. Aeroplane's above him, he's accelerating rapidly here. He's falling about 120 mile an hour. GoPro on the plane, just the prop trying to move, and there we are. That's the prop spinning in the wind, no one in it. And that's all we need to see of that. Well, actually it isn't, because we'll just skip on a bit. Here he is in his parachute. Experienced skydiver apparently. There's the plane flying itself. There's a shot from above. The plane has got below him, and this has been questioned, but not nearly enough. I've spoken, well, I haven't spoken, but I've seen reports of skydivers, and skydivers and parachute plane pilots who say that it's actually very difficult to catch up with the skydivers. If they jump out the plane, they're going to get to the ground first. Unless you put the thing in a damn near vertical dive, which this one isn't. It's trying to fly, and that poor little plane is trying very hard to fly. I don't want to see the crash. Fallen free fall for quite a long way. He then lands in bushes and prickly things. Most people are saying open parachute high, choose your landing point somewhere nice and comfy. There's a reason why he does this. He's on his way back to the plane. I'm guessing to retrieve the GoPros. Where's his jacket gone? Oh, he's got wounds to the head there. But his jacket's gone. His big heavy coat has disappeared. He's also dragging a parachute with him. He's trying to survive. Why is he dragging a parachute with him? He bleats on for a while. There's the wreckage. It's very sad. There's further has come up on this. Comes up to the wreckage and he's bleating. There's nothing there, not even his water bottle. Maybe it was under your coat, mate. You should have checked your coat before you threw it away. He gets it back, by the way. Oh, you can just see on the right those red things. That's the cylinder heads. People are saying that the engine has been changed. Right, that's not the original engine. It's certainly not the engine that was licensed to the aircraft when he bought it. They've proven that. But if you notice the red paint on the cylinder heads and overspray on the cooling fins, and that paint actually looks quite fresh. Engines are dirty things at the best of time. There's questions there. Alright, let's move on. His head wound's healed up. Let me just look at that for a moment. Yeah, come on, look towards us. What's this shadow here? What's he carrying? We think it's his parachute. No mention of the paraglider or the snowboard. Could it be a paraglider and snowboard? Why is he carrying that down there? The wreck's going to have to be recovered anyway. So, has he had a shave? He's very clean for somebody who's fallen out of an aeroplane and then spent, I believe he's claiming here, a couple of hours clambering around on a mountain. Get a better view. Yeah, his head injury's healed up. Now the next interesting bit, and this is where it does fall into my field in which I have slightly more expertise. It's getting dark, right? He says it's getting dark. He hadn't walked far, but he still managed to slip in a slight edit. I wonder what he was editing out. Oh, it's dark. Just like, but it's not dark, but it is dark. Look at this. He's very clean. He's still clean shaven. No sign of injury that was there earlier. And that has been lit. That's not ambient light. That is artificially lit. And it's lit, if that was me, the light source would be a soft light source just up behind, just about straight through the ear. You can tell by the shadow around the edge of the, whatever this bit of the ear is called, I've forgotten. Tells us where the light source is. It's quite close to. He staged that. That's staged. And I think that really is my main concern, that is so obviously staged. Actually, it's slightly forward. If we look at the cheek, that's more intensely lit than back here, and because it's close, light follows this thing called the inverse square law. So the intensity falls with the distance from the source, and it falls by the square of the distance. So the square of the light source to his cheek is noticeably different to the square of the light source to the back of his head. So the light fall off is proportionally greater there than it would be if the light source was, yeah, sort of 10 meters away. In which case you probably wouldn't notice that. I mean, that's kind of a given. It's bound to be, because he's, he's out in the middle of nowhere. But seriously, he brought his lighter kit with him? I wonder what was under the coat. Those, I think, are my main concerns. Oh, he comes back. This is 5 days later. No sign of injury. And there he is, still with no coat on. He didn't have a helmet in the air. He's going paragliding, and he's got a helmet now, but he didn't have that in the plane. And he's all clean and tidy and had yet another shave. No injury, no nothing. And he goes off and scatters his friend's ashes. There is one other thing which is not directly related to this video, but it gives you some idea of the person. I picked up on a video. He was boasting about punching his dog in the face. He punched the dog in the face, I think it was twice, and then elbowed it in the face. He had an unconstrained dog in the back of his aeroplane. The dog got scared and tried to come in and sit on his lap, and he punched it and elbowed it, or him or her, I should say. It's a golden retriever. I mean, it's a beautiful looking dog, but he was boasting about this and seemed very proud of the fact that he had punched this dog in the face. You can find that one if you want to. Draw your own conclusions, but it left me unimpressed and makes me question the nature of this guy. So that's really all I want to say about this. I want to question how the jump plane, as it became, his plane that he bailed out of, managed to go from fairly well above him to fairly well below him whilst he was in free fall, falling vertically at 120 mile an hour. That's above the do not exceed speed of that aircraft, by the way. I believe it to be above the do not exceed speed of that aircraft. And the aircraft itself certainly didn't seem to want to fly that fast. I question how quickly his wounds healed. And I question this clearly staged night scene of drinking the water. Now, staging that is not illegal as far as we know. The wounds healing, okay, it was shot at a separate time, maybe months later or weeks later, I don't know. Maybe the wounds were made up. That's not illegal. But if he's prepared to go to that effort, is he prepared to do other things in order to get views? I'm going to keep you informed about this one as I find out more. I'll keep you informed about what's happening. There is an FAA investigation open on him. There's the uncertainties about the airworthiness of the plane and things like that are slowly being cleared up. It would appear that there is definitely an engine change, and that's overspray on the cooling fins was an attempt to hide that. That's it. That's all I want to say about him. I will keep you informed as other stuff comes up, as I've said. And next time we'll have something slightly more joyful. We've got to do a Moose News for this month. And we do have some Bell News. So we'll see you again soon. Take care. If you go flying, you don't have to wear a parachute. Your plane glides very well. They all do. They're designed to. Aeroplanes like to fly. You're better off staying with it. And I don't need to say anything to those of you who are pilots. You know more than I do already, by quite a long way. Bye for now.